You're gonna see some serious shit.
It is the future, the year 2015. Okay, it's not as cool as we were promised, but it's not that different really. Instead of Jaws 19, we get Terminator Jenny CCs. It's the same thing really. We need to make a future for ourselves. A future where film lovers make film podcasts about why they love film. Where we stay positive no matter what the next batshit crazy Fantastic Four reboot rumor is. Come on guys, Star Wars and Mad Max are coming back. Brad Bird's got another movie out, Pixar have too. Stick with us folks and you'll always see the bright side of movies. Don't mind the title, it's just ironic. Welcome to Movie Moan 2015! Hello everybody and welcome to your, I guess, special Comic-Con Aftermath episode of Movie Moan 2015. Before we get into all that stuff, this week's episode, I think it's just going to be a big marveling at the future segment with me, with Spencer, and with our special guests as well. We're just going to get into it. We'll be going for hours on all the great stuff that's come up. We've got reviews of Ant-Man, X-Men, Days of Future Past, The Rogue Cut. God, all in one breath. That's such a long title. And we've also finally, Jamie and Matt Thompson as well, have both seen The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. I can't wait to get their thoughts on that. We're going to belatedly talk about those trailers that everybody got to see. If you care about our opinion, we feel like we've got something to add to the conversation. And who knows what. But before that, folks, two very, very important things. Number one, an apology to everyone in the world, because I've gotten into some shit race. I've literally just found this out 5 seconds ago. For those of you who are old fans of the podcast, you may remember that when Jamie and I did our visit to New Orleans to see Man of Steel together, that when we were out in the car park discussing the film, there was a third party there joining us, and that was Jamie's best friend, and in some ways, although Jamie will break his heart to hear it, my best friend too, Chip. We still haven't had on the show.
You guys connected immediately.
We did. We have such a special bond, even though I've only met the guy once. I love him to death. And apparently I've really, really angered Chip by us talking last time about the ending of Game of Thrones Season 5 without any spoiler warnings. Honestly, folks, it's that God-honest truth. We've never had an issue with that before. I thought you guys never really minded about spoiler talk, and I never had to throw up spoiler warnings or anything like that. For that one thing, even though it's not my fault, I will apologise profusely that I gave away the ending of Season 5 and Jamie did as well. And notice how this whole time he has been silent, not said a fucking word, let me do all the talking. You got anything to say, Jamie?
I'm glad you apologized.
Fine. Anyway, I've done that. I apologize.
No. I actually, Matt was the one to point out with Jamie. You brought it up, actually. All I got was the text saying, like, God damn it, like, Phil spoiled Game of Thrones. And I was like, oh, sorry, buddy. Like, question mark?
I am. Honestly, I'm really, really sorry. I didn't think about it. I should have shut
sorry,
Jamie down.
I didn't realize I spoiled. But I mean, it's true. As you said, like, it was all over headlines. Like, it was impossible not to notice about it.
We're going to spoil it again, basically.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
No, this has happened before, actually. I remember because when the first season came out on DVD and Blu-ray, it was new to me. Like, by some miracle, that show had not been spoiled to me, and that was the first time I actually got to see it. So obviously, the big twist, which now I will not spoil, even though it seems so ridiculous, I will not spoil it here. But we talked about it, and Jamie actually blew that one too, but I cut him off. I bleeped him on that show because I knew some people still didn't know. So I should have done the same. I apologise. But in other news, the more recent saga on our show has been Phil and his Laserdisc collection, and the irony of the fact that this guy keeps collecting Laserdiscs but doesn't actually have a fucking player to play them on. That changed today! Folks, I have a Laserdisc player! Not just any Laserdisc player, I have a Pioneer Laserdisc player that plays PAL discs and NTSC discs, so I can essentially play anything. So I have this huge Laserdisc collection that I can now go through. Tonight, if we have time, I am going to plop in Star Wars, and I'm going to watch it. True, it will be in 4.3 aspect ratio. It's not a widescreen copy that I've got, but man. And I tell you guys, the reason that it's happened is because it was going to be my birthday present. My birthday's August 2nd. I was going to get it then, but because of work commitments, sadly, I'm not going to be able to go home and see my family. I've actually had to push back seeing them by a couple of weeks. I won't get to see them now till mid-August, by which time my birthday will have come and gone. So they came and meet me today, they brought it to me, and they gave me my present early. I know. And it was a really tense moment there, plugging in the player, because they were like, this better fucking work, Phil. We've paid a lot for this, and they did. They paid like 200 quid on eBay for it. It's a good deal, actually, in retrospect, because, folks, you want to go to eBay and find good players. The discs are cheap, the players not so much, so they got a good deal on that. And I knew the player would work. I had no problems with that, but the discs, you're playing a bit of Russian roulette there. Because, I looked at this Star Wars disc. It's probably came out in like 1980. It's older than I am. I'm like, is this going to work? And I put it in. And my God, folks, the CBS Fox video logo came up and I fucking cried. And I was like, it works. It fucking works. And I'm so fucking pumped over the next couple of weeks that I'm going to be able to just go through these movies on Laserdisc and just feel like I'm watching them anew. It's going to be so awesome. I'm so pumped. I'm so excited. None of you care. That's fine. We'll move.
I'm really happy that you are you are really living the future. Yeah, up to date.
You said this, Sarah, a couple of weeks ago, and I completely agree with you. Vinyl's still with us. I don't understand why somebody doesn't have, just as a test, have a go at bringing out a movie on Laserdisc and seeing what happens.
I think someone will, actually. Ironically, you know who I could actually see doing this? Is fucking J.J. Abrams with The Force Awakens.
Here's the thing, by the way, though. People would argue that vinyl still sounds as good as anything we have. No one's going to argue that Laserdisc is nearly as good as DVD, let alone Blu-ray.
No, I'll agree with that. I do. I completely agree.
No, actually, I've got it. I know exactly what big movie will be reissued in Laserdisc. Segway, X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh, we're starting there. Oh.
I don't know, are we?
No, we're not, actually. No. We've got reviews to do first.
I don't know. I just thought it'd be clever, because Laserdisc... You see, kids, Laserdisc took off. No, actually, correction. Even double correction. Laserdisc never took off. That's why it doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly so. That's why Apocalypse is angry. Laserdisc never took off.
He wakes up, Laserdisc. Well, he doesn't talk like that now.
He should.
Is it going to be said that... Yeah. Before we even get into that discussion, so real quick, Wes, will Oscar Isaac's voice be like really synthesized?
I'm sure they'll do something to it. I don't think it's just going to be his regular speaking voice.
I agree.
Okay. So he's not going to sound like Ivan Ooze. All right, joke's over. All right. By the way,
I've never seen an
joke.
Ivan Ooze
We are
apocalypse
done.
joke. What?
We are done with the Ivan Ooze jokes, kids. It's over.
Apparently we're not. Because people are still going to make them. It's the fucking Smurfahontas jokes all over again that people made for months. Even the critics made them. Do you know what's the funny thing about Avatar? I saw supposedly professional critics talking about Thundercats. Never thought I'd see that in the context of an Avatar review. I thought that was so special that...
I was really impressed when Gene Shalit pulled that one out of his mustache, because I didn't think he'd watch Thundercats.
Apparently, thunder, fun. I don't know. I'm trying to do bad.
Yeah, no, keep going. I want to hear this.
No. Maybe later.
Thundercats, more like thunder. Yeah, I'm done.
Exactly. He doesn't stress. So let's move on. Let's talk about. Okay, so you kind of all heard the crowd here. It's me, it's Jamie, it's Matt, it's Spencer, it's my best movie moment buddies in all the world. Join us now for marveling at the future. So, folks, let's kick off the ball. As we say, when we get the comic book movies, we're going to review them not on Classic Movie Moan, but on Marveling at the Future. Just in the off chance that what we're seeing here is the beginnings of a franchise or something wonderful. I doubt it for this one. I'm going to be completely honest with you, but you can hear from me last, I suppose. We better start with positivity, given our thoughts on Ant-Man. Jamie, want to start the ball rolling on Ant-Man?
Start. Who can be sacrificed?
Go on, sir. Don't be shy.
No, I mean, it's just, no, but it's funny. I mean, I am not the kind of guy who Marvel movies are one and done viewings. I think they are, with the exception of the first Iron Man and Winter Soldier, are fucking horribly overpraised. And like, I've been saying that for years, and I just sit there with all these reviews and they're going like, yeah, it was nothing special. I mean, it's like watching a Big Mac commercial. I mean, it's what it is. It's like making a Big Mac. Like, you know what they taste like, and they taste fine, but like you don't sense that there's much personality to the movies. But I went to Ant-Man, and it wasn't the fact that I had a really shitty day at work, and it wasn't the fact that I had lowered expectations. I mean, look, I still go to these movies. If that was the attitude, I just wouldn't go to them anymore, you know? I loved it, man. I had a fucking blast. The energy, the humor, so quotable. And by the way, I did not watch the marveling at the past, or marveling the segment that you and Spencer did talking about some of the tie-ins with Baskin Robbins. That is the most brilliant cross-promotion I've seen since E.T. did Reese's Pieces. Like, it is that good. And I just walked out of it thinking, Baskin Robbins finds out it, and they know everything. In fact, when you were going to do I was waiting to do the intros, and when Phil was going to go, and of course, as always, the cynical SOB, Jamie Williams. Hey, hello, Jamie, and I would say, Baskin Robbins knows all. But you didn't do that.
By the way, is anyone else at this point convinced that Baskin Robbins is linked to Hydra in some way?
I'm surprised no one has
Because Darren Cross made that line. He said, Hydra, they're not what they used to be. And I'm like, that's right! They're fucking ice cream peddlers.
And I also like the intro, he's dealing with that dumbass who, wants to order
the
all
Michael
this.
Cera knockoff.
That's what he was? Okay, so.
That's what he looked
The
like to
problem
me.
is, I've dealt with people like that, and, they're not joking.
Yeah.
They're that stupid. Like, oh, just give me something hot and fresh. Really, dude? Come on. Like, don't do that. I loved it, man. Beginning to end. It was so much energy. The humor, but apparently you guys didn't feel the same way, so I'm kind of curious more to hear from your perspective, actually. That's more interesting in my opinion than mine. Go ahead.
Matt, over to you, sir.
Jamie, you mentioned the energy. I didn't think it had any energy at all. I thought it was flat. Certain sequences worked, but I was bored for decent chunks of this movie. I mean, the key thing that stands out to me is it so desperately wants to be Iron Man. Desperately. Scott is snarky and cool, but he's not as snarky and cool as Tony. Training sequences are cute, but they're never, funny or exciting like the armored sequences in Iron Man. It's dull. It never hits the highs of Iron Man, and its lows are way lower. I made this comment on Twitter, but I absolutely think this applies. Ant-Man is to Iron Man as I Know What You Did Last Summer is to Scream. It's the 80s horror knockoff of the really good thing.
Love it.
That's a great... I completely disagree, but even I love that comparison. Good job.
Yeah, it's genius.
That is good.
But it had Peggy Carter in it, so it's still better than Thor 2 and Iron Man 2.
Okay, that was her. Okay. I was sitting there going like, this chick looks familiar.
It's the greatest woman ever, Jamie.
I should have remembered that boning I heard wasn't mine. It was Matt's from thousands of miles away.
I don't care if she's 68. I'm going for it.
Actually, it was actually kind of, I was surprised that John Slattery showed back up. I thought they were kind of like...
I'd had that spoiled like a year ago. That was one of the things that leaked when Edgar Wright left the film, was like the Marvel was inserting things, and one of them was that the opening scene had Peggy Carter and Howard Stark.
Yeah, but like that totally worked. That's the thing, like, I thought it worked fine. Like, that's actually the things that annoy me about the Marvel movies, how they always want to integrate all the other films into them, but I actually thought they integrated that stuff really well.
The opening scene felt natural, as opposed to the scene with the Falcon, which absolutely felt shoehorned in.
I liked the Falcon scene, but I agree with you. Like, it was certainly the shoehorn thing. But
I also like direct-to-video action scenes, Jamie. So
Insane.
I should have liked, Falcon scene. Well, I don't think it was just inserting things into the movie. I mean, it was a tonal thing. And you can see that in the movie itself. We go from... They want these really sweet, sad scenes between Scott and his daughter to Michael Pena, who is basically in an Anchorman movie.
I love Michael Pena. I thought he stole the whole movie.
No, he's funny in the movie, but he is... The scenes with Scott and his daughter, which are supposed to be serious, and Michael Pena is in a cartoon. It's a funny cartoon, but it is not in any way the same movie that anyone else is in.
I thought it integrated well. I thought it integrated really well. I love the movie, but I thought he was the best part. In fact, my reaction was... He's been getting a lot of work already as a character actor. He's going to get a shit ton more.
Pena fits in this film as well as all of the I gotta get me one of those jokes work in Batman Begins.
Zing.
Again, I think bringing Edgar Wright up is almost... It's a very interesting side story, and we can all think, should he have left, should he not have left? But Wright doesn't matter right now. It's Peyton Reed's film. We should discuss it as Peyton Reed's film. Its successes are Peyton Reed's.
The problem is that everyone's going to say who liked the movie, and most people in the community, and I mean, the reaction's been pretty positive from our community, but that doesn't matter. Like, they always react positively to Marvel movies. As Matt and I have been saying for years, they fucking said Thor 2 is better than before it opened. I mean, like, so we can't listen to these kind of reactions. But, but the attitude is, and we all knew this was going to happen. I think Phil even said this. He said, if the movie comes out and it's great, everyone's going to say, oh, it was all because of Edgar Wright.
I didn't care for the film very much, but I think it's disingenuous and almost unfair to the movie to judge it by that standard. Judge it for what it is, not what you think it should have been with him directing it.
If I may then at this point, Spencer, what is it?
Well, I found the film, probably the first 40-45 minutes, it was still watchable, but it just didn't quite capture me. There were definitely scenes that work in that opening, the opening scene with him at S.H.I.E.L.D. in 1989. It's fucking great. And then there's when he goes to steal the suit in Hank Pym's house. That's a great scene. It's done kind of perfect. But then overall, I just wasn't into it for that first 45 minutes, an hour. But then the last 30 minutes of that movie, man, kicks so much ass and cranks it up all the way, and it's fun, and it's fun to watch. It's funny. There's and just incredible special effects, and they take it to a weird place that you wouldn't expect from a movie like Ant-Man. Yeah, overall, I don't know if it's gonna be a Marvel movie that I'll rewatch all that much or ever. Let's see. But yeah, I feel like the third act of this movie really saved it, and not because the first two were bad. They just didn't quite. It was kind of a tonal shift.
It's definitely all over the place with the tone. I mean, that's a hard thing to pull off when. I thought it pulled off the balance really well, personally. I laughed a lot during this film. A lot. And
I laughed a couple of times, but I mean, even the third act, which a lot of people love, I think it's a cute third act, but for one, the best gag is in the trailer with the trains crashing into each other, which I guess that's not the movie's fault. But
no.
even then,
they don't spoil a giant train there.
Oh my god,
which was awesome. It wasn't.
I guess I sort of just expected it to happen when they introduced the giant growing things. But Spencer, you mentioned kind of going to a weird place you didn't expect it to go. I assume you're talking about like the atomization of it,
the microburst stuff. Yeah.
But even then, it's a lot of techno babble for what is essentially going back to Iron Man. It's that scene in Iron Man where he flies really high and the suit freezes. It's the, oh no, there's this dangerous thing, we can't do that he just pulls out at the end to kill the bad guy. It's a big techno babble name for something we've already seen before.
Well, if I may at this point, I mean, I've only saw it a couple of hours ago, folks, and I've been really wrestling with this one, and I've been wrestling with it because I am disappointed in the film, but I'm finding it so hard to be hard on it. A movie this earnest and charming and sweet, it is hard for me to really beat it up, but I am disappointed in it, and I think I'll start with the positives first of all, because it certainly doesn't feel like a 2-hour movie. It moves. I was perfectly fine with its pace. I like the performances. I really like the costumes. Yeah. I tell you what, the Ant-Man suit is one of my favourite costumes they've done in one of these movies. Something about it really clicked for me. It's really cool. I'm not into
the background.
Yellow Jacket looked awesome too.
Yeah, and the Yellow Jacket looked great as well. It was good. And Spencer's right, the action sequences are really, really fun. And I suppose what I wanted coming away from Ant-Man, and we've talked about this, was, okay, all the drama that's happened, Marvel is serious as a heart attack to make this movie. I was saying, if you canned it, we wouldn't think less of you. You're allowed to can one of these 20 movies you're making. If it's not worth it at this point, maybe try again in a few years. But they were so serious to get this movie made. I can say that in terms of the action sequences, I can say, okay, that's why you made it. Because having superhero fighting in that kind of environment and the possibilities that come with that is really, really cool. And what's also interesting is that I was thinking how the climax, the fight in the girl's bedroom, and by the way, that girl is fucking adorable. She is so cute. I mean, it's a really easy switch to go for to get our sympathies, just throwing a cute kid, but fuck it, she's so adorable. Anyway,
and too, she'll have a cute puppy.
Yes.
Well, they've got the ants, the giant ants under the table. I'm wondering what that was going on. That's true. Fucked up puppy. Anyway, I'm thinking that, okay, they're having this fight in the kill's bedroom, but to be honest with you, I wanted it bigger. I wanted them to be fighting in the toilet, in the kitchen. I wanted the fight to go on through the whole house.
Dude, that scene with the rat freaked the shit out of me. I screamed.
That was cool too. But I was just thinking, like, there's so much more you could do with this. And I was thinking, Phil, it's part one. Dial it back a bit. Maybe I shouldn't be having my franchise head on here, because I don't know if there's going to be an Ant-Man 2. I really don't know at all. But you know, there could have been so much more done, but it's actually quite a modest little movie, and obviously they're keeping it in the girl's bedroom because that's where the stakes are, and it's not going to have any impact if you move away to the kitchen downstairs. Fine, I get it. So it was a lot of fun. My problem with it, and I really, really put my finger on it, is that this movie is nice and pleasant, and there is no conflict in it at any point. None. There are stakes there, but at no point do any of our heroes have to struggle to achieve anything in this movie. Let's look at the situation with Hank Pym. It is a situation where his company has been taken away from him, where the research that he's hidden has now found its way into the hands of evil. Even though they haven't cracked the formula yet, they are really, really close to unleashing it on the world.
This movie's really mean to goats, by the way. Can I just throw that out there?
Yep.
And it has the most gruesome death in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah!
The absolute most gruesome death, and it's fucking amazing.
That bit was great. I will totally go with that.
Hold on. Okay, since we're going spoilers, I want to clarify with Spencer. Are we talking about the bad guy's death at the end or the executive at the beginning?
The executive that get turned into
Yeah,
a
the
booger.
executive.
Push.
At the beginning. Well, they're both freaky, so they're going, oh my god, I jumped up. Oh my god!
You
And then, like, you just
flush him
push
down the
toilet.
toilet, and you're like,
Oh,
that is a bad guy.
Dude,
That's
I sat there, and like there was a couple of black guys next to me, and they said, "That's messed up." And I said, "I know, isn't it?"
No, that bit was great. That bit was fantastic. Let's have a look at the situation with Hank Pym. So his life's in ruins, and he's lost his wife, and he's got this apparently really broken relationship with his daughter. But he doesn't really, because they are, working together at the start of the movie, and they have this weird on and off, like, I'm going to do the mission, no you're not, no yes I am, no you're not, I'm yelling now, I'm walking out then, and then she comes right back, and it feels like that's a relationship where there's nothing earned, because really, all he has to do is halfway through the movie, tell her, in a nice scene by the way, exactly how her mother died, and there we go. But she was going to do it anyway. She was coming back anyway. She walks back in with Scott. So they really didn't achieve anything there. The situation with Scott, okay, here's a thief who's coming into your house and stealing the fucking Ant-Man suit. And at no point in this movie is there any conflict between Scott and Hank. No sense of mistrust whatsoever. And it feels like a basic thing in a mentor-pupil relationship where there has to be a point where their relationship gets tested, where they have to start to learn to like each other. They should be reluctant partners at the start. It's the Mask of Zorro thing, if nothing else. And, that relationship is just there right at the start. They like each other. They apparently trust each other implicitly, and that's it. Even Scott says to himself, I know I'm expendable, and he's cool with that, and there's no sense of conflict there. Like, Scott knows immediately what's going on with this family dynamic and spells it out to Hope, and there's no point where he says, no, fuck, I've got a daughter, I ain't doing this no more. None of that happens. And then, all of that I can sweep aside, I suppose, but the one part where the movie must work, if it's going to work at all, and it doesn't for me, is in the heist. The great heists must have an immaculate plan, and then it all goes tits up, and they have to adapt, and it's tense. This heist gets pulled off so easily. It just fucking flies by. It's fun, but it isn't tense. Look at any one of the Mission Impossible movies recently. Even people are going to start throwing things at me now. Even Mission 2 has a good heist in it, where things
in
go.
the lab.
Yeah. And he has to go through the ceiling within a half a second window. It's a good scene. It's a good tense scene. There's no tension in Ant-Man whatsoever. The heist doesn't work. I wasn't going to bring Edgar into this at all, but since you did, what I will say is that I have a feeling, it is just a gut feeling, what can I say, that being such a geek for cinema and knowing so many films, that at least in that aspect, Edgar would have made something really cool. He would have been able to pull off a really cool heist, I think. The idea of him doing a heist sequence is exciting to me. I think that part would have been effective.
He's doing that. His next movie, what's it called? Baby Maker or something.
Fair enough. Well, that's just going to bring it all back, isn't it? That's just going to bring back the comparisons. But in any case, that's the part that...
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's the part that didn't work for me. And so the movie just unfolds, and it's nice and pleasant, but it's not acting on me. It's not dragging a single emotion out of me. It's not the worst. It isn't Thor: The Dark World. Matt is quite right about that. But it is the emptiest I've felt during one of these movies since Incredible Hulk. And I've said this before, I'm such a geek. I made a long cut of that movie to put the emotion back in, because I found the theatrical cut so hollow, and Ant-Man's got that kind of thing. One final point. I am so fucking sick of them doing these after credit scenes, and now they're not cheap little nice jokes. Now they're actual important dramatic moments, which should be moments in films that get built up, that actually have drama to them. Thanos getting the gauntlet, that should be a fucking moment, not an Easter egg. Fucking finding Bucky, that should be a moment, not a throwaway.
Well, that's just a scene from Civil War. I mean, that's literally just, it's not something that...
Oh, so you think they're actually going to, do the
Peyton
scene
Reed
from
even
it?
said, it's a scene directly from Civil War.
Right.
In the same way that when Captain America came out and they had the little show reel of the Avengers at the end of it, how it opened with the scene from the Avengers with Captain America talking to Nick Fury. That's what this is. This is a direct scene from Civil War that we will see in Civil War next year.
Okay. Well, I hope it works out then. And like I say, obviously I can't really being premature with Civil War because it could work absolutely fine. But I'm wondering, I suppose we need to find out how they handle Thanos in the Gauntlet, because if it was just that and he's now got the Gauntlet and we're just moving on, that is such a waste.
Well, have the movies ever established he didn't have the Gauntlet? I mean, other than it being like in the Easter egg in Thor's treasure room, I just took from that scene of him getting it. I didn't imagine he was stealing it from anyone. I just imagined he had it and he was pulling it out.
Out of his box.
You're right.
Yeah, like I pull out a Blu-ray, Thanos pulled out the Infinity Gauntlet.
I'm jumping the gun there. You're absolutely right. You know why? Because I was thinking in my head that obviously all the movies are about these race to accumulate the gems, and I was thinking that the cliffhanger for Infinity War Part 1 would be, okay, he's got the gems, but as long as he doesn't have the glove to wield them, we'll be alright, and then at the end of Part 1 he gets the glove, and we're all fucked.
And he gets the glove from Dumbledore's grave, and then he shoots
That's right, yes, that shoots the pilot. Oh, you. Apparently what we have discovered is that the people who watch these movies have really short attention spans. Like we were talking about it with Avengers when Thanos showed up. Who's that guy? And apparently when Bucky shows up, some people said, who's that guy?
Are you serious? They said that?
Apparently. Whose audience was that with?
Yeah, that was mine. I saw this film 2 weeks ago, as of this recording, and I saw it on the Disney lot. So we're talking people who are either critics or friends of people at the studio. And when that last credit scene started and it showed a close-up of Bucky, I heard a bunch of people go, "Who's that?"
It's over.
That's still not as funny as
I'm taking the cyanide pill now.
Now I understand why in Tarantino films they have those captions there when you introduce the characters. It's important.
See, now the Hugo Stitz scene makes perfect sense in Bastards.
That's right, yes.
They can't do like the comic books and have a little bubble pop up. Hey kids, remember Captain America: Winter Soldier? Smiling Stan Lee.
And that character, that voice will be Stan Lee's.
Just mentioning Thanos, I'm sorry, I know people argue fidelity to the comic books. He needs a redesign. He looks terrible. He looks laughable. He looks silly. Purple Shrek stuffed into armor that is too small for him.
See, that's always been my issue with Galactus. Like, I actually understand why they redesigned him for the Tim Story movies, because it's like
they just a stupid redesign, but these characters, they look dumb. It's that. It's kind of that joke. We might go into this later with Apocalypse. Everyone freaking out. Someone mentioned that line from the first one that everyone hates. What, would you prefer yellow spandex? How dare you, Bryan Singer? Bryan Singer shows characters wearing outfits directly from the comic books. That looks stupid. Sometimes it actually does look dumb, and you need to go a different way.
Indeed. Actually, I think what we'll do, folks, is it's clearly going there. No matter what I try to do to stop it, these guys want to talk about Apocalypse before anything else. So we'll come back to other stuff later. Actually, we'll move straight on now. We'll mix it up. We'll do a review, then we'll do a bit of Comic-Con, then we'll do another review. Well, let's do that. That's fine. So even though the predictable thing to do is go straight to Batman v Superman, we'll do that later on. Let's talk about X-Men Apocalypse. I'll just start the ball rolling on this because I have very, very brief thoughts, which is that I just don't understand this community anymore. I'm kind of all... Look, my overriding feeling about the picture of Apocalypse as a character is that I think it looks boring. I don't think it looks particularly interesting as a design. But it's one picture. We'll see if he grows big. We'll see if he has an A on his belt.
That's why he needed to have an A on his belt, or it would have been.
We'll see if we get an Egyptian look and he's wearing a skirt for a part of the movie. We'll see. Who knows how crazy it could be. But what I'm really fascinated by is Brian's journey, going through all these movies, right from X-Men #1 to this movie, the journey he's taken with the designs of the characters, because obviously he's gone from something with a plausible application in terms of the X-Men wearing just these uniform combat suits, making the best as what he could with Magneto's costume, which was a really weird design in the first one, but I understand what he did with it. And like Jamie always astutely said, he turned him into a Nazi. I get that. And now we're going to just full-on designs. Psylocke is Psylocke. And it's crazy. And people are criticizing it. And at this point, I'm just like, you don't know what you want. And I'm done with you. You will criticize it no matter what it is. We've been here before. No matter what it is, whenever an X-Men movie comes out, we are so ready to prejudge it.
Phil, if I can jump in really quickly.
You may. Jump all you like. I'm done.
If this exact same picture came out of Psylocke looking exactly the same, but we were under the Marvel Studios banner, people would be praising it, saying, holy shit, they nailed it, she looks perfect.
Amen, brother. And some people actually have said that, by the way. Again, I'm making Jamie's mistake. I'm talking about everybody here. I apologise for it. I'm just saying I have seen comments where I don't guy that look. It looks suey.
Well, the thing that's gotten good remarks is the Storm look. Everyone seems to like the Storm look. So
just like that it's not Halle Berry at this stage. I think that's what it is.
That is what it is. It's not Halle Berry, which Halle Berry was fine. So, God, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I know.
Whatever.
Well, I mean, let me tell you, folks, let me tell you exactly how this is going to play, because we saw this with X-Men Days of Future Past, where the footage that we saw at Comic-Con, actually, I didn't get to see that. That footage didn't leak to me. I never got to see it. But it looked cool, it looked okay. That experience was more about the panel, because that was a fucking awesome panel, because they literally had every cast member from all the other movies there assembled, and that was a big deal for people. And remember how in November of 2013 they brought out the first trailer for X-Men Days of Future Past, and it was a mood trailer, and there were barely any special effects in it, and no spectacle, and then however many months or days or weeks before the movie came out, then they exploded with the full trailer, and we saw Magneto lift the stadium, and we're like, oh, that's awesome! That same thing is going to happen with this movie, where right now we've seen a footage which looks dull. It does, because it's repeating things that we've seen before. Another attack on the mansion, another attack on Cerebro. It looks very dull to me, and I'm not interested. And there'll be a trailer that's out at Christmas, and that probably won't have many special effects shots in it either. And then we'll get a trailer in March or April, and that will have the disaster movie element they've been talking about, and it'll look big and epic, and Apocalypse will probably look much better, and it'll probably have a cool voice at this point that's dubbed, and people will start to like it again. We've been there so many times. I'm bored. Matt.
No, just to be fair, though, jumping in, it was a mood trailer for Days of Future Past, but it was a really good trailer. I mean, there's a reason they basically took that Comic-Con trailer and used it as the first trailer for the movie. It looked really good, whereas the Apocalypse footage, it looks interesting, but nothing about it so far is particularly, oh yeah, I want to see that movie. It's just, oh, another X-Men.
I wonder how different the reaction might have been if they'd shown some scenes from the mall with the Return of the Jedi playing, the geeky stuff that people like to see. You know, that was interesting, though, that none of that was there. Maybe it's actually not a big scene, I don't know.
I pray to God that Brian does not literally have them talking about, like, boy, Return of the Jedi was awesome. Like, don't do that. Please, at this point, can we please have the film, like, I mean, I'm getting sick of seeing Magneto in the antagonistic role. It's like, come on, there's got to be more to this. Like, really? I really like the way they played Fassbender in First Class, and it made me actually get behind the character, and he becomes the hero, and his actions in Days of Future Past were fucking completely justified. And as Matt and I said, you know, the film wanting to sort of treat him as being evil, but Mystique, who's a fucking moron, and no, she's noble, though. Like, you know, and that's because of Jennifer Lawrence. She's a big star now. Like, I get that, but boy, man, I really hope that they're gonna really, they need to end the movies with them making peace with each other. And, like, I keep thinking they're going to do it, and then you sit there going, maybe they won't. And, like, having him as one of Apocalypse's horsemen, I was like, you know, that's the easy route, and I kind of never thought they'd do it because I just had too much credit for Brian, who I'm still a huge fan of, obviously, as a filmmaker. But we were talking about this off air, but, you know, wouldn't it have been cooler if, like, they did it, like, not because it's like the comics, but because it's different for the movies, particularly these movies, where it's like Charles is one of the horsemen. And granted, like, we're going off of a movie that's still filming, and we don't have all the context, but we're just going off of what we've been told, which they've now given us a lot of stuff. To be fair, they have. Wouldn't it have been interesting if, like, Charles was one of Apocalypse's horsemen instead? Like, and have
And
Magneto
had
be
to
the
save
guy who's
him.
not.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't that have been interesting and different? Like, have Magneto basically be the guy saying, "Look, I've seen pure evil. I survived it with the Nazis. This guy is the next step of the Nazi party. I have to stop it. I'm telling you, I know what this is, and I have to be the one to stop this." And it's like, no, he's antagonistic again. Like, really? Again? God damn, guys. Like,
I've just been saying on Twitter how this guy just can't pick an outfit.
yeah, his fashion sense are terrible.
He's like, again, and that's another fascinating thing about Brian's journey with this character. It's like he's just been, when we've been talking about that for years, how I wonder if they're just going to go full on, red and purple, and it's like, and just go full on suit, and then they're not quite there yet, but every movie they just change the costume. I just wonder if it's because they're not happy with it. Like, every time they're like, I want to change it, I want to do it differently. I'm just so fascinated by Magneto's costume because they've never just
Days of Future Past
settled on
was
it.
the best easily. It looked awesome.
See, I think he looks the worst in Days of Future Past.
Interesting.
You guys can't agree on anything.
No, I think it's kind of a flat look. I thought he looked better at the end of First Class, although I prefer Days of Future Past kind of I prefer them reducing the horns on the helmet because I think those are
yeah, that was just.
But I like the color. I like
like
the red and the cape.
He looks like he's wearing pajamas at the end of First Class.
And in the second one, he looks like he's wearing like plate armor from a costume store.
And I think that looks better.
Well, that's because you're dumb.
Clearly. I will say though, I mean, clearly, like, I'm complaining about this, but obviously the movie's going to end with, like, Magneto obviously getting out of Apocalypse's mind control clutches, and, like, they're gonna have a big fucking fight at the end. I mean, of course.
And they will show, that's my point, Jamie, they will show that in the trailer, and then people will be ejaculating.
I would imagine that what we're going to do is something like the whole point of the movie is going to be he has these horsemen, the key to stopping Apocalypse is releasing Magneto. So that's going to be the whole build-up is can we free Magneto from his grip, and then that'll be the ending of the movies, the big final battle with Magneto.
They've said that, like, the part of the plot is, like, they have to save their big goal is to trying to save Eric. So it's like, okay, well, then they clearly, once they do that, then they'll have the big Age of Apocalypse Magneto.
I think the big thing here is this the last X-Men movie and they reboot, or are we actually getting more X-Men movies after that? Because it makes it hard to judge what the ending can be. So it really decides, are you continuing from here, or do you mean this to be some kind of ending?
I gotta be honest, buddy, where else do you go at this point? Like, if they go through this shit, survive it, he saves them, and they still don't agree, they're going, alright, you guys just need to, like, fucking never speak to each other. Like, just...
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
It's like, it'll be just, like, really? At this point? What the fuck?
If I had to take a guess on things, I would say that they're going to stick with the decade gimmick. They're going to make another movie, one more, set in 1992, and it's going to be just a pure fucking love letter to the cartoon. And it's going to have Mr. Sinister and Mojo and all these... And Morph, yes! What about Morph? This guy we knew for 10 minutes. I still remember all his lines.
Coming back as evil hit me really hard as a kid. Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. He was really funny in that show. I remember because I still remember that line where he's watching telly and he morphs into the president or a senator or someone and says, "My honorable delegates, I am an idiot." And I always still remember that being so funny. I thought that was so funny. I was like, yeah. And then fucking Wolverine beating Cyclops up. X-Men don't cut and run. I can't do the voice. It's like, X-Men don't cut and run. Whatever the voice is. It's like, oh. And that's what we need. It's just like, if they're going to do Psylocke like that, I would not be at all surprised if we see Cyclops in a blue leotard by the end of it. Anything is possible.
No, there was a picture that Brian, like, Instagrammed of some production art, and, like, that was clearly Cyclops in the blue leotard. So I think we're going to see it.
Wait, are we going to see his hair, or is it going to cover his hair?
I think it covers his... I'm gonna take a guess and say it covers his hair.
Even if they don't do that, I mean, Gambit's going to be full Gambit. It's just going to be that costume, just as you remember it. Yep. Convinced of it.
I don't think they're gonna. Okay.
Why don't you think so?
I just think it looks stupid, that's all. I don't...
Dude, what have we just been talking about for the last 10 minutes?
No, I mean, all seriousness, I don't know if they're gonna do it. I don't really know.
I don't think that this is the world we're living in now. These costumes are stupid. It's so interesting. Matt does have a point. These costumes are stupid and they have to be adapted. But clearly the mentality right now at Fox making the X-Men movies is that they're just doing literal translations. Deadpool is Deadpool. Storm is Storm. Psylocke.
To be fair, though, Deadpool actually does look pretty great.
Well,
that
sure.
costume translated.
That costume was awesome.
I get that. I'm just surprised that they've literally made it so literal. Like, I was expecting some kind of adaptation. Like Ant-Man, you look at Ant-Man, that's an adaptation. It's a subtle one, but there is definitely an evolution there. And, you know, Kevin Feige actually made a point a couple of years ago in an interview, which I thoroughly agree with, is that I feel people's expectations when they see the movies is they are expecting some kind of evolution. They are expecting, you know, us to actually change it somewhat and actually, you know, mess it around and stuff, and that's the cue that they've taken with their costumes. And Fox, they just seem to be just literally doing them as.
I think with the costumes though, and to be completely fair, and I think the comic book look does go well with the fact that you're making them retro films.
So moving on, folks, I guess we'll stick with X-Men. We're jumping back to review. Well, Spencer will just have to sit there and sip his tea just for a couple of minutes, just while we talk about this. Won't be long, Spencer. But
can I just say that, like, after like the third story about the X-Men Days of Future Past Road Cut, I could go the rest of my life without seeing those words ever again. So that's probably why I haven't seen it.
Oh,
Spencer, you don't have to see it.
That is true. That is
I don't
true.
think
You really
I ever
don't,
will.
because it's okay, but there's a reason why they have the movie that Singer approved for the final cut is in theaters. Like, and Singer said, like, look, this is just an alternative cut. My director's cut's the one they put on theaters. I don't want people thinking like I didn't like what
He
we
said the
put
same
out.
thing Peter Jackson says about the Lord of the Rings extended editions.
Well, you couldn't put out a 4-hour fucking movie in theaters, my friend.
But yeah, but Jackson says his director's cuts are the theatricals.
Sure. Okay, I'll go with that.
And for that same reason, the road cut is better than the theatrical Days of Future Past.
I think you're crazy. I love you, but you're crazy.
No, it's better paced, better character stuff.
Better paced?
Absolutely
Oh my
better
god.
paced.
We're fighting now. Let's go.
Before they do that, guys, time out, because I don't want the people there to actually assume that they know what this is, because I'll be completely honest with you guys, I didn't even fucking know. I actually pre-ordered it blindly, and I don't even know why, but I'm glad I did, because there's actually some very nice special features on there, as opposed to the pathetic selection that was on the initial Blu-ray. I remember, I'm going to call them out on this, fuck it, I don't care. IGN did a list of the best Blu-rays of 2014, and they put X-Men Days of Future Past on there, and I fucking almost put my fist through the computer. I was so insulted by that. Just because you like the film, you can't say the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray package was pathetic. But anyway, on the road cut, if you are interested in such things, and I like to think that there are some people out there who still are, you get some good stuff. You get an hour-long documentary. You get a roundtable conversation with Singer and most of the cast. Not Lawrence, as you can imagine. But Fassbender's there, certainly. And Jackman shows up and stuff. They tease Apocalypse a bit, but they don't really tell you much. And there's 2 commentaries, which I haven't listened to yet. One for each cut, both with Singer. So that's a good selection right there. That's all you can ask for, right? And the deleted scenes, which are not in this cut, were on the initial Blu-ray. And that was the interesting thing, folks, because I had no idea this was an alternate version, really. I obviously understood that the Rogue section of the movie, where Kitty gets cut up thanks to Wolverine's freakouts after he has the Stryker flashback, she gets injured, so Rogue is needed, not only to heal her, but take the place, and fill in the spots. And that's obviously an alternate vision, and Iceman gets killed at that point. Oops, spoiler, sorry, Chip. And then also, what happens? I'm just teasing. But also, there's obviously other things that happen, because there's a section you might know or might not know, where rather than just saying, Mystique, come back, please don't do this, and they don't see her face to face until the Washington climax. There were a bunch of alternate scenes that happened where, and you actually saw these in the trailer. That was the weird thing, the bit where Wolverine says, "You're a cold-hearted bitch," and that wasn't
That's not actually in the road cut.
It's not in the road cut. I was expecting it to be, but it's not in there. What happens, though, folks, is that, as well as the Rogue section, there is a sequence where Raven does come back, and in a really good scene, I really like this scene, her and Beast have wild animal sex! Spencer, you want to see this scene. It's really good. It's interesting because in the theatrical cut, and I totally get the reason why, because it doesn't really amount to anything in that movie, but, you know, that movie had to kind of forget that Hair and Beast had a thing in First Class. And I totally get why it's not there in the theatrical cut, but it's nice to bring it back in this alternate version of the Rogue cut. I really like that scene. The Rogue stuff, it was fine, but I kind of was a bit weirded out, I don't know about you guys, by Anna Paquin's really, really cold performance. Like, she's just emotionally shut off in this movie. And it's like, obviously, she screams a bit when Iceman dies, but then, you know, she comes in and she heals Kitty, and then she's just got this, like, blank stare when she says, "Hello, Logan." And I was just like, this is a bit weird. I don't really get this. But hey ho, it is what it is. And there's a couple of alternate takes here and there of stuff that happens. And
Nixon gets an F-bomb.
Nixon gets an F-bomb. And at the very end of the movie, we get an Easter egg scene where Trask ends up in the same prison that Magneto was in. I don't know why he deserves to be... I mean, look, Magneto was 100 miles underground in concrete because he was a dangerous criminal that could control metal. Trask is in there. Sorry, guys, he's not a threat. You know, he's
There's
not
a shortage of cells.
Yeah,
Right?
I guess.
It's a budget thing.
I guess that's the reason. Yeah, so that was weird. So it's an alternate take. I am with Jamie in that I feel the scenes were cut for a reason, and that if I'm going to watch the movie again, I'm probably going to watch the theatrical cut. But I like this version fine. I don't think there's anything to get upset about. It's I do think it's
a big deal if they cut her. Like,
no. But I think that if you're asking us folks to recommend it to you, then I'm going to say this is a geek-only purchase, definitely. Or if you like your special features, I'm going to say that. Anyway, you can fight now.
Okay, I'll start. So I feel like so many of the added bits, they lengthen the movie, but they smooth the pacing and the transitions of it. I like the mutants at the beginning of the film actually contemplating, hey, we're basically risking our lives for a new future that we might not even be born in to see. I like the scene with Raven and Hank. It ceases to make Charles, Raven, come back. Raven, come back. Well, she's not back. Well, maybe she's at the president's thing. Well, maybe we should go there. It's adding runtime, but it's smoothing the transition so it feels shorter to me. Shockingly, I really liked Ellen Page in this version. I mean, she only has a couple of extra bits, but she sells that romance with Bobby. I couldn't really have cared. I thought it was kind of a cool hook that they put them together after kind of X3, but I bought the romance. I was sad at the end of this movie that Bobby ended up with Rogue in the future. I actually cared. I liked the mutants, again, talking about the fact that changing the future could mean that they all don't exist. I like the Hank and Raven scene. Just they're longer scenes, but they smooth over the cutting. When you cut from one place to another place that don't have anything to do with each other, it creates a jarring sense of pace. This moves smoothly from one location to another location. Just little bits. The cross-cutting between saving Rogue and Magneto getting his helmet, between Magneto the savior and Magneto the villain. Even little added bits like the death of Magneto and Xavier at the end, just holding arms, which I don't remember being there theatrically. I felt like it was a smoother, more enjoyable cut of the movie. It reminds me of Lord of the Rings in a lot of ways that some people will think it's too long, some people think it's extraneous, but personally, I think it's a stronger cut of the film.
I should point out, actually, perspective is everything, and Matt and Jamie will always have a different perspective on this movie than I will, because they read it. They read it before they saw it, and then they got to tell...
That's true, although I should point out to people that I haven't actually seen it since theaters. I didn't buy the first Blu-ray.
Yeah, there's some things that are, like, the Magneto and Xavier, that's in the theatrical cut. But that is there.
Well, I know the lines, but them holding arms, are you sure? Because
yes,
really remember being disappointed with that. Oh,
that
okay.
Is there.
How much longer is it? What's the runtime?
It's 17 minutes longer. So it's, again, I even think the title is stupid, the Rogue cut. Rogue gets extra bits, but it's more just an extended edition.
That's all just marketing.
Well, no, it's
the added material is not Rogue.
It's a double entendre thing.
Yeah, it is. As in, it got out. It's an alternate version that maybe never should have been released, but here it is, because I love it. That's what it is.
Your name happens to be Rogue.
Yeah.
It's like, I get it. Moving on. Yeah, I'm saying,
so we've already done with Quicksilver.
And you know what the cheeky thing is, though? I'm convinced of this, too, that if Brian had put the Rogue scenes on the initial Blu-ray, by this point, anyway, someone would have done a fan edit, and they would have called it the Rogue cut. So that's why it's
That's
called.
That's so true, Bill. Oh my god.
Seriously, we need to do this because this is a geeky podcast, and we already did it with Quicksilver. Now that the Rogue Cut is out, should we be arguing about whether Age of Ultron or the Rogue Cut does Scarlet Witch better?
Well, here's the thing. Now, I was going to bring this up, actually.
I forgot she was
I'm
in it.
such a nerd. That little girl is not the Scarlet Witch. There's a line.
She's the Scarlet Princess.
No.
Upstairs.
If you remember what she says to her mom says, "Go upstairs and go bother your sister," but she bothers me. And I believe Brian said, "No, that's not Scarlet
It's
Witch."
a joke, Jamie. Joke. I'm sick of your damn bullshit.
He's very whoa. Okay.
Phil, can this episode be titled
Matt, can I go talk to you? Can I talk to you?
I really want to get the fuck away from X-Men at this point because it just brings out the worst in both of you.
I'm sorry, I like good things.
I want to hear from. That's fine. Okay, let's move on.
Actually, it's funny. No, it's funny that Matt and I do. Actually, we do generally agree about the direction of the series, and it's just the little things that we don't like. But
all right, let's move on. I want to hear.
It's funny that.
Shut up!
Matt and I agree about no.
Thank you. I want to move on from this point. Spencer's been out the loop, and I've missed his warm and fuzziness that he brings to the show. Spencer, I'm going to give you the tremendous honour, sir, if you will. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. Floor is yours. Do you know what? I'm going to do the rest of the show. I found out, you know that narrator on Super Friends? You know, Batman and Robin, Marvin and Wonder Dog. I'm really good at that. I'm going to do a whole podcast like that one day. Batman and Robin, Aquaman. I'm going to do a whole show like that one day.
There better be a scene where, in that movie, where it goes, "Meanwhile, back at the Hall of Justice." Suicide Squad needs to have that voiceover.
Actually, that's a good point, Spencer. I'll let you choose it. Actually, I'll let you choose the next topic. You can choose Batman v Superman or Suicide Squad, whichever one you prefer, sir. Start the ball rolling.
I'm going to choose Suicide Squad.
Thought you would.
Because, as we all know, I'm a big fan of that comic, of those characters, and I've been a big proponent of this film since even before they started shooting. It was the first entry in the Spencer Soapbox is why that movie is so important to the DC Cinematic Universe. And then when I saw of course I saw the leak because I wanted to see it, and then when they released it online officially, I was kind of surprised they did that anyway. But then also, I'm just shocked that they were able to put something together that quickly after 2 months, maybe 2 months of filming, that looks that good. The footage is just incredible, and even without a ton of effects, if really any. It's just stunning. It looks amazing. And then also, what's great is that you get enough of a sense about some of the characters, some of the actors' performances as the characters, that it teases it just enough to really kind of whet your appetite for what they're really going to show with actual trailers. So Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, fucking amazing. She has 3 lines, but she kills it. And Harley Quinn, she doesn't have the Margot Robbie doesn't use the sort of traditional accents, that people come to expect with that character. But I like what I'm seeing. I like what I'm hearing. I think it's a different version of the character than we were ever going to get anyway. You're never going to get that Batman the Animated Series version in live action. It's only going to be able to exist in that cartoon. The only one that concerns me is Will Smith appears to just be playing Will Smith in a Deadshot costume. And he has the line, I guess, for some kind of Suicide Squad. And after that, I was like, well, they might as well just put the line in fucking Batman v Superman where the Justice League is all standing there, and then Batman's like, I guess we're some sort of Dawn of Justice.
Okay, it's a trailer.
Just before we do so, Jamie, just one thing. Spencer, you are on a slippery slope there. You know how I feel about judging performances from trailers.
Right.
Let's be careful here. But that's a good point, though. Jamie.
No, I was just going to say, does it seem like Will Smith's bored?
Wouldn't you be?
Why, it's funny.
Considering the stuff he's done, and now he's that one guy in that one second tier DC movie?
Matt and I were talking about this, is that this movie is going to succeed really it's not because of Will Smith whatsoever, and that's so weird to say that because 5 years ago it would have been unheard of.
Right.
It's like the movie is going to make a lot of money because everyone is going to want to see Jared Leto as the Joker.
And it's
first
a
and
cool
foremost.
And
It's a cool
Harley. I actually think it's more Harley than anything.
That's me. I really don't give that much of a shit about the Joker. It's Harley Quinn in a movie.
And the concept. It's such a cool idea. Like, let's do a movie of a team of supervillains. Like, that's a cool idea. Like, there's a novelty to that idea.
Sinister Six. That didn't sound like such a hot idea. I'm just saying.
It's still coming, Phil.
Yeah.
We're still going to get Sinister Six.
Look,
sure.
Phil was the one who nailed it. I always thought Marvel was going to do Thunderbolts.
Yeah, and now it feels
I
like...
don't know what that is.
Oh, well, I won't bore the audience by going into that again. Spencer's heard it enough times, certainly. But it does feel like, I will say one thing, that we've talked a lot about that, but after watching this trailer, I really don't think they can. It will seem like such an afterthought at this point. I don't think Thunderbolts is going to happen. It's a shame, but hey-ho, it's fine, I'll live. I'll live fine. So, Jamie, I'm quite surprised you're really high on this, then.
I think it's interesting. That's my thing. It's like all these movies are like at this point you just get you know what they all are. You have like what are you bringing new to the table because every studio now is adapting a comic book, whether it's a superhero movie or not. And you really have to try something that, as I said earlier, is a novelty approach that hasn't been done in films before or big movies in recent memory. And this is an interesting idea. It looked good. Dare I say, it looks more interesting than Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I'm curious to see the end product, man. That's an interesting lineup of a cast, by the way, also. So yeah, I'm very much looking for. I didn't like jizz over it or anything. I was like, oh my gosh, best thing ever. I was like, this looks interesting, and I gotta tell you, to go by what everyone else has been saying. That's a movie star performance if I've ever seen one with Harley Quinn. What's the actress's name? Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
That could be the launch of a movie star right there.
See, this is where I feel out of the loop because I only saw that trailer once and I don't even remember Harley talking in it.
She actually speaks the most in that trailer, if I remember correctly.
I think so, yeah.
I've only seen it once. I've only seen it twice. I saw it twice.
I think the lines are, are you the devil? And I hope you've got insurance. I think it's 3 lines.
I thought she had a few other lines, but okay. Really? I thought it was
She
more.
giggles too.
And she giggles too, yeah.
That counts. It sounds.
Does she say Mr. J? Because if not, I don't give a shit.
She does not.
No.
That should be on the bet on the show.
They will. They absolutely will say that in the movie.
That is so crazy how they've just flat out let that out the bag, though, as Batman's in this movie. It's like...
I was stunned by that shot.
You're not saving that for
I
later?
actually kind of wonder, though, is it Affleck Batman, or are we just going to get kind of a prologue thing where we just see some dude in the Batman suit, and it's Batman, but we never really...
Oh, it's one of those copies. I'm just trying to help!
this guy's wearing hockey pads. No.
And glasses.
No, I really think we might not even see Affleck as Batman. Like, we would really just get shots of Batman on the top, but we never actually get, like, a close-up or anything of him to see who's in the costume to actually show Affleck. It'll just be like, here's Harley and Joker's normal life, and here's Batman on top of the car.
Matt's completely right. I think Affleck would be too distracting, actually. I mean, we saw the footage being shot, and that was a stunt double. I mean, that was a guy in a full-on Batman suit, but it was not Ben Affleck.
They didn't put Affleck on top of that car as it drove around?
Stunned as it was, no. Although apparently his ex-wife insisted.
I knew that was going to happen. I just fucking knew it. He's happy with me. Why can't you just accept this?
Have we considered that this was a Marvel DC breakup? You're going to be Batman, you son of a bitch.
It's true. It's possible.
Actually, I was sad to hear that news, actually. I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff, but I was like, really? That's sad.
It's people's private lives, and it's none of our fucking business.
I'm very sad those celebrities who have no idea I exist broke up.
Exactly. So, I'm just thinking that, okay, maybe that scene, you're probably right, but you know that a week before it comes out, they can shove a little shot in or an after credits bit to sell the Batman, or whatever it's going to be called. That he's
don't understand. Batman is a red herring. What's really going to happen at the end is Joker's driving and Vin Diesel pulls up in the car. And that's the end of the movie.
And that's why we're brothers. Maybe. I don't know.
That's actually a great idea. Actually, cool.
Isn't it just? Two things, and I'll start first of all by saying, of course, the trailer and its release officially has been the subject of some controversy. I believe apparently David A is not happy. Do you know what? I agree with him. I'm on his side. This is the way I see it, folks, and if you want to disagree with me, you come in and tell me, and in the comment section too. But when you got a movie like this, which is 13 months away, you have to deal, and especially a movie that you are going to have to properly sell. It's not a done deal that people are going to go and see. It looks cool here, but as far as a full-on, proper, timed marketing strategy, you know, you're going to have to put a lot of effort into that. And we've got this Comic-Con footage right here, which to me is like trailer 3. You know, we've seen so much of it, and now at the end of the year, you're going to give us a teaser trailer, which is going to be not so much, and then it just feels like because they've released this or been forced to release it, their timed marketing strategy is blown out the water now. It would be like, obviously, because the Avengers Age of Ultron Comic-Con trailer was the teaser trailer, which came out in October of that year and had a big reaction. It was a big deal because that trailer did not leak. I heard audio of it, but I never got to see it. So when it actually came out officially, it was a big deal and people were talking about it. And I feel like the first official theatrical trailer for Suicide Squad, unless they do some genius job, is going to be such a you know, because of what's happened here. So
I would almost compare it to the initial Batman v Superman trailer that came out versus the Comic-Con one.
Right, yeah. That's true. That's very true. Yeah. But obviously, you know, that movie's... People are just going to see that movie. That's my point. And
of course, but that first
that.
Comic-Con trailer, people kind of thought that was great to watch the bootleg footage, and then they released the real trailer, which, you know, it's a teaser, so it doesn't really even sell it quite as much, and people are like, well, that's not as good.
Yeah.
I mean, the first Suicide Squad trailer is not going to show nearly as much as this Comic-Con one did.
I have a controversial thought about it, which Warner Brothers isn't going to agree with whatsoever, but I almost feel like the correct thing to do with this movie now is to go fucking dark until next year. Just make us forget.
I don't think there's going to be anything until Dawn of Justice, and then you'll get your...
No,
great.
Fine then. I'd be surprised if they don't put something on Star Wars. I would think teaser on Star Wars, trailer on BVS.
Could be, yeah.
I don't know, but I certainly feel like, well, at least until Super Bowl, you should be waiting and holding back. And that's the thing, it's like, if the first time that you guys in Hall H got to see Suicide Squad was then, and that's it, and we didn't get to see it, and the first time we got to see footage was like the first time we got to see Guardians of the Galaxy on Jimmy Kimmel. It's a big deal, you know, and it's not going to happen for Suicide Squad now. And especially since, as Spencer was saying, they've managed to show so much in this trailer. I'm not complaining about that. It's just the fact that it feels like there's a whole movie there with very little that I get the tone of it, I get the style of it, I don't need to see anything else, but you're going to show me a lot more because your timed marketing strategy is blown out the window. I feel that this is important for a new movie like this, which you've got to sell. And I feel like it's a big problem and I wonder how other Comic-Cons and other, you know, people who want to show their footage are going to deal with this going forward. And also the fascinating thing was that, obviously, we've seen leaked Comic-Con trailers before, but they've always been the size of a postage stamp. Like, I got to see the Man of Steel Comic-Con trailer, and it was the size of a postage stamp. Didn't affect my viewing of the proper trailers one bit. This thing, the guy who shot this, he was 5 rows from the screen. David Ayer could have found him and strangled him if he wanted to. But he didn't.
He might have.
It's like, how did they fucking get away with this? I thought that people got their phones taken away from them before they got in that hall. Maybe it's too hard to police.
There's too many people. It's like there's too many people to do that.
Right. But how are they going to deal with it going forward? Because, you know...
They just won't show footage.
Right.
No, they'll show footage. They have to embrace it. I mean, look, guys, this shit's been going on for like years.
I agree.
And
yeah.
I tell you, I'm tired of this being like a quote unquote recent controversy. It's been going on for fucking years, and you can tell the studios that know they have a winner. And I think I might have said this before, but fuck it, who cares? someone leaked the Iron Man footage.
Jamie
Marvelous.
said this before. Jamie has mentioned this about 50 times on this show over the years,
have?
this particular anecdote. Yes,
And it's true.
You can still find it too.
yeah, it's
Still
true.
online.
It's a nice little piece of
See,
magic.
but here's where I've always wondered with Jamie, because I remember the early Iron Man footage underwhelming people. I still remember that Super Bowl spot for Iron Man. They do all those polls and things of how audiences react. That Super Bowl spot tested the worst of any other spot shown during that game. I remember Iron Man being a publicity campaign that came together very late.
Oh, I don't. I remember they let the Comic-Con footage just sit there. They never fucking pulled it.
And it was the first trailer.
Yeah, and it was literally the first trailer.
It's true. There's an exception to the rule.
And they did it. And they did that with 300. 300 the footage of 300 got up. They let it sit.
Look, I'm going to say something that a lot of people aren't going to like, but I don't see the point of Comic-Con. I think if this stuff happens, because as Phil is right, this has really shifted the Suicide Squad marketing momentum. They either go dark for an incredibly long period of time, or they risk oversaturating people to the point that when it comes out, they don't want to see it anymore. If this keeps happening, just ditch Comic-Con. Who cares about it? Just don't go. Let it die.
I agree. It's a difference with Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman is in the full swing of its marketing.
But-
They timed it perfectly. We were dying for a new trailer at this point.
Even then, though, thinking of that, I'm tired of Batman v Superman. They announced it 2 years ago
Right.
at Comic-Con. This movie
Well,
has
that's
taken
true, yeah.
freaking ever to
Yeah.
come out. I saw footage of it from Comic-Con last year. We saw the first real footage from this movie 21 months before its release date.
That's right.
It's just,
I
it's
completely agree.
insane.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need the marketing from it. All it does is either damage the movie itself or the perception of the movie. Just, Comic-Con is outdated.
And by the way, just to contradict myself somewhat slightly, when it really boils down to it, as long as Suicide Squad gets screened and gets advance word and great reviews 2 weeks before it comes out, it's not going to fucking matter. Hopefully.
It's not going to matter if it bombs anyway. It has a cool enough premise that it's going to do fine. It's not going to do as well as Batman v Superman, but I guarantee it's going to do better than your middle-tier Marvel superhero movies.
Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm blowing up the internet's importance here again. Let's not forget this trailer, this Comic-Con trailer, is not going to be shown theatrically, that itself. So when the time finally comes to show a Suicide Squad trailer in theaters, you're still going to have regular people who know the Joker, and they do know Harley Quinn, and that's going to get a reaction out of people, and that's when they're going to know what this movie is. Because chances are there's a lot of people out there, Joe Public, who don't know this movie exists yet. So maybe it doesn't matter at all. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts, though, folks. I think this is a really interesting topic. One other thing to say. I have been incredibly patient with you, Internet. I know we've been through the block so many times on so many movies, and I get frustrated that we don't learn from our mistakes. But I have to say at this point that if you are going to look at the end of this trailer where we get 2 shots of Jared Leto Joker, and you're going to say to me either fucking he looks sick, amazing performance, or see, I laughed as I said that because it's so funny. Or you're going to say, I ain't buying that Joker. I'm not buying his Joker whatsoever in terms of the performance. Then I'm going to say, shut up, fuck you, and go and hide somewhere until the movie comes out. Because I'm just so sick of this. I am so
Phil,
sick.
I'm sorry, I'm just not buying that Joker, man.
I know. Well, no, you brought up a point off there, Matt, and you were saying that it was the design for you that you don't buy. Totally get that, because this footage confirms that is the design, and if you don't like that, you can see that in a full high-res image and in the trailer, and I'm totally fine with you criticising that, because that's what he's going to look like. But the performance, you can't do it yet. Why is it? You have to answer me for this, guys. Spencer, I'll ask you first here. What is it about this character that people are so possessive of? Why do people have such determined, pre-built-in ideas of how the Joker should be played, and they're unwilling to budge on it, and they'll always criticise any new fucker who comes in to play this part, and we have to do the same thing over and over again? I don't get this. Why are we doing this again?
I don't think it's all that different from any other fictional character that has a huge following. Hard to think of a better example than the Joker, where when they announced a new one.
So that was the nerd police coming to take me away, by the way. I don't know if you heard that.
You are right though. Like, there's something about him that makes it particularly venomous on the part of the exceptional fans.
I'm raising my hand. Pick me.
Mr. Carter! Mr. Carter! Yes, Matt, go ahead.
The closest analogy I can make is imagine if they were making another Star Wars movie and they had a new Darth Vader. How would people respond to it? The Joker, whether you're a Marvel fan, whether you're a DC fan, whatever, the Joker is the most iconic comic book villain there is.
But he's
so
been
people
played. My point
You're right.
is he's been played so many different times.
But people are attached to theirs. It's sort of like, Doctor Who or James Bond. People have their idea of what this character should be. Even though that character has changed so many different times in so many different mediums, people are attached. The same way if you made another Darth Vader, a huge chunk of your audience would freak out. Another chunk of people would be attached to him. And then when you remade him again, those people would also be angry with the first people, while a third group of people like the new one. It's just, we as geeks are possessive of whatever we see as ours. People see their Joker. Right now, it's probably either Mark Hamill's Joker or Heath Ledger's Joker, and therefore they project that. They judge things as what they want them to be, not what they are.
It still doesn't make sense to me because, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, there hasn't been a single Joker performance that has been met with hostility. It's not like a James Bond, where some people have their likes and people have their dislikes. Some people don't like Dalton and whatever. Fuck those people. But, oh, did I let that slip? Anyway, every Joker has been really well received. Even the cameo kid in Gotham got great raves, and he's not even the Joker yet. This character, no matter who plays it, it seems to work. It seems to click. It seems very hard to screw it up. I just don't see how we can come in with cynicism at this point. And let's not mate it with praise either. Let's just wait and see. Open-mindedness.
Phil, are you suggesting we should wait to see the movie before we decide whether we like or dislike the movie?
Apparently so.
What the fuck?
Don't commit your hate crimes here. Hate crime!
This movie is over a year away. I've had plenty of time to decide whether it's good or not.
I get it to a certain degree. I understand that people are sensitive to the fact that this isn't going to be any Joker. This is going to be, I presume, the Joker of the DC cinematic universe. So if we get off to a bum start, it messes up the whole thing because people really care about the continuity. It really, really hurts that Terrence Howard is Rhodey in one movie and not in any others, It's that kind of thing. I get it. And, or Edward Norton, the Hulk, or whatever. But, so maybe that's what the issue is in this particular point.
Well, also, you're the Joker replacing Heath Ledger.
Exactly.
Yes, I get
You're
that.
the George Lazenby Joker.
That's very true.
Oh, man. Right, let's move on then. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. Matt, I'll let you start the ball on this one. Why don't you?
I thought the trailer was fine. It looked pretty good. I didn't like Man of Steel, but the trailer for this one certainly, it looks like a fun movie. This is my real film geek. I live in Los Angeles, you peons. I'm above this. These movies, as I see Ant-Man, as I see the trailer for Batman v Superman, as I see the trailer for Suicide Squad, as interesting as I see them, I can't get out of my head. They all look so light and fluffy. These are all cotton candy. Some of them are good cotton candy. Some of them are bad cotton candy. But almost through no fault of the movies at this point, because comic book films certainly aren't any worse than, horror movies in the 80s or Die Hard ripoffs in the late 80s and 90s. But I'm so tired of cotton candy to the point that when I see these trailers, even if they're good trailers, my immediate instinct is to say, here we go again.
Maybe I can convince you a little bit later on. I'm going to try. Anyway, Spencer.
I feel the same way. I'm not excited for it, but not out
Oh
of...
my god, my job's impossible. Fuck you guys.
Let me finish. Not because of, out of some sense of, I don't like what I see, or I'm tired of superhero movies or something. It's just that it's so far away that it's hard for me to muster excitement for something that's not until next spring.
I would say that, but I geeked out about Star Wars really fucking fast. Really, I still have that nerd.
I feel the same way about Star Wars, though. My issue with the trailer is I like what I see. I think it looks great, but that's the problem with Snyder's movies is that they look awesome. Like, he adapts the aesthetics of these comic books perfectly. He just does not get the underlying messages and tones of these stories.
Well, you guys mentioned it off air, by the way, is remember how much you loved the Man of Steel trailers.
Yeah.
And then the movie came out, and it was Man of Steel.
Which
But
I
don't know.
like that movie. But yeah, the movie does not match those trailers whatsoever.
Right.
And I have mixed thoughts on this because I'm sure Spencer will disagree with his comment. But, I really liked Watchmen, but I feel like Snyder needs a really, really strong baseline to go off of. He's an amazing visualist. He has great pacing, but he doesn't feel like someone who can manage a really strong narrative on his own. And Batman v Superman, through all of its kind of false starts of, we're going to make Man of Steel 2. Oh shit, no we're not. Here's Batman. Written by David Goyer, except we hired Affleck, so he's bringing in his guy. I don't have confidence that it's going to be anything other than Freddy versus Jason with Batman and Superman.
Well, that wasn't a bad movie.
No, I enjoy Freddy versus Jason, but I'd never in a million years say it was a good movie.
Oh, fair enough. Jamie would.
But, I'll give the thing credit. I really like the idea of Bruce Wayne being in Metropolis during the fight at the end of the last movie. I think that's a really cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jamie?
I'm curious what makes him put the suit back on. They've established this is a Batman who is, which again proves my point that they were so trying to lure Christian Bale back into this.
Yeah.
Because
did he ever take the suit off? My impression was that he's just been Batman the whole time.
no, I believe they've said like he's Batman. He stopped being Batman for a while.
Because it's inspired by Dark Knight Returns, so...
Are you sure, Spencer? What would make you think it's inspired by Dark Knight Returns? What visually in this movie would ever give you the idea it's inspired by Dark Knight?
I have to agree with Matt on this one, Spencer. You're really stretching it here.
I mean, Batman's in it.
I can't think of anything.
He's got me there.
Spencer's so sweet sometimes. And listen, my Professor Frink sarcasm detector is off the fucking charts right now, so can we dial back the sarky just a little bit?
I actually don't mind it.
But that's a good point, though, that Jamie brings up, because I was debating that too. And dramatically, it's far more interesting to have the guy who is out of the game but comes back for one last ride. Although, ironically, it's not going to be. It's actually going to be the start of a 20-film franchise for him.
Just think the way we're in an alternate universe where they offered Christian Bale like $500 million and he came back. Imagine that trailer where we're seeing like the Battle of Metropolis from Man of Steel on a TV, and we see Bruce Wayne sitting in Italy watching the news coverage, and he comes back. Like, imagine the audience reacting to that.
They'd lose their fucking shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit! It's going to be big, but if Christian Bale was Batman in it, holy god!
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean,
Come to Alfred. Here we go again.
He's not your enemy.
That's right, yeah. The rage that drops meant cruel.
Well, I mean, they did offer Bale apparently like an ungodly amount of money to do another one. And he just kept saying to do this movie, and he kept saying no. Like, they would never come out and say that, but they...
Well, yeah, Bale, I can't imagine Bale would ever play Batman again without Nolan. But here's the thing, like, imagine, let's just go alternate universe again, because I think these kind of scenarios are fun. Let's say somehow Batman v Superman makes money, but it doesn't work. Like, let's say audiences don't like it to the point where Justice League doesn't do very well, and the whole DC universe kind of implodes. How much money does Warner Brothers back up to Chris Nolan and Christian Bale at that point?
Yeah. Begging
them to come back. I mean, would they give them the studio? Hey, Chris, do you want to run Warner Brothers?
You know, I feel like, and you know, we'll get back to this topic a little bit later. I do believe in the movie gods. I do believe in those cosmic forces of fate which align and make sure that some projects happen and some projects don't. And the reason those projects don't happen is so others can happen. Never more has it been true than Warner Brothers and the DC Comics movies. You know, Superman Lives, for whatever reason, it was not going to happen. Flyby, for whatever reason, could not be allowed to happen. It had, and Wolfgang Petersen's Batman vs Superman, for whatever reason, it could not be allowed to happen, so that we could get the Dark Knight trilogy, and Superman Returns had to happen so that we could get Man of Steel at a later point.
You're also forgetting we could have had George Miller's Justice League.
And that movie too, absolutely.
With perhaps the greatest Green Lantern ever.
And your performance was amazing. I will always say that, Matt. Will it hold? I love that because I hadn't read that part in the script. Green Lantern was blind, so that made sense, but reading the script not knowing that just makes it so much funnier. He's just a retard that's not paying attention. Oh, we love that.
I just hope they include that reading for that documentary they're doing about like how they really, what if they made Justice League Mortal? It's like, don't worry, we have the counterpoint to that documentary.
We've got that covered, all right.
That's a good point. I'm going to find the guy who's making that, and I'm going to show him our podcast and say, well, look, we'll do it for nothing, but we'd love to do the whole thing at Comic-Con, just like Ed said.
Just flies out.
Well, I'll try and sell you on the trailer for my point, because obviously I've been cynical about the project too, and obviously I don't want to come off like a hypocrite here, like I'm like, oh, but now it cures AIDS. No, I don't feel that way, obviously, because I still...
Just cancer.
Just cancer. I just book cancer. I just...
Whoa!
I just feel like... I'm losing train of thought here. I completely agree that the movie could still blow. What I do feel, though, very, very strongly, is that that the movie's going to be interesting. It's going to be just as interesting and debate-worthy as Man of Steel, and we're going to be easily able to do a 7-hour show on it, debating its various merits and stuff. So I'm really interested to see it come out. All I can do is what I've learnt to do, view it as a piece of marketing. And looking at it as a piece of marketing, this trailer had 2 jobs. Number 1, sell Batman in his 3rd cinematic reboot. And 2, sell this film to me as a film, not a checklist. And to me, it did its job. It sold itself to me as a Man of Steel sequel. I remember having a conversation with Jamie however long ago it was, and Jamie said, and I believe his exact words were, dude, this isn't the Man of Steel sequel, this is something else. I don't know, man, it feels like the Man of Steel sequel to me. Maybe it's just evolved into that. So I like that. I like that Superman and Batman are getting equal treatment in the trailer. I like, again, the reason that I liked going into Man of Steel, how, you know, Superman's going to be going, apparently, hopefully, on a journey in this movie. He is stuck in a conflict where he is a savior to some and a devil to others, and he's going to have to earn respect. And right there, in a couple of shots, it's amazing. Even though the movie's not come out yet, I think the reason why Bruce running into the smoke of the ruined tower building is getting such a strong reaction is because right then and there, that character clicks for people, and people are like, yeah, I'm right there. That guy's a hero. I'm with him. I'm on his side.
Or he's just suicidal.
That too.
I love that shot, actually. Yeah.
It's a good shot. So immediately, you empathise with a character, you click with it. It's not just because it's Batman and he's cooler. It's not that. Immediately, we're sympathising with Bruce Wayne, the human being.
Affleck, too. I mean,
yeah?
Affleck's look there, it's like, I totally get why this guy thinks, holy shit, Superman's a frickin' threat.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said a long time, people worrying about Affleck. I think Affleck's going to nail it.
Oh, absolutely.
That was never a question. He was never, ever the issue with this movie. Like, I just, for the life of me, I don't get how that was even for a second a controversy.
Speaking of which, I'm open-minded about Jesse Eisenberg. I mean, I think that obviously what they're going for is shown right there in that shot where Superman's kneeling down and Jesse's over him, looking at him like some kind of animal exhibit. It's, you know, the ultimate contrast of the strong versus the meek right there, of brains versus brawn. That's clearly what they're going for. I understand why, because in, you know, let's face it, a lot of iterations, Lex Luthor, he's built like a brick shithouse. You know, we were talking about The Rock playing the guy for his charisma more than his physique, but still the point was made.
For both. The fact that he plays Superman in a human form as a mortal man. And I still think that would have been my way to go.
I love the idea of Luthor as almost Zuckerberg in The Social Network.
Yeah,
I love that too. That's great.
I think that's really cool.
That's cool casting.
Again, it's just the fact that, you know, we've waited so long for our billionaire Luthor, and we're not getting the traditional thing, so people are panicking. But you know he's going to be bald, folks. And as we talked about in Superman the movie, you watch that movie, he's not bald in it for most of it. It doesn't matter, because you just get, if the performance works, you take it away by it, so let's not worry
I mean, you can't do the same exact thing as
of
the
course
Gene
not.
Hackman, Kevin Spacey Luthor. Whatever issues you have with Superman Returns, I think Spacey kind of perfected that version of Lex Luthor. So you either make him, a muscly, I'm gonna fuck you up myself, or you make him the exact opposite of Superman. It's intellect over brawn, and I think Eisenberg, for whatever reason, maybe it's just Social Network, he very clearly comes across like he's smarter than you and he knows it, and I think that's perfect for Luthor.
But the other thing to say about it is that this trailer and the images it showed, it suddenly clicked for me what the angle is into the DC Cinematic Universe, if I read it right, and I'll admit I'm probably assuming a lot here, but obviously they've been in this damned if you do, damned if you don't position where, okay, what do? Do you introduce all these characters in origin stories and then bring them together for a Justice League? Then you get criticised. Do you do it together? Do you do it the other way? You get criticised. Well, what they've done here is something that I think is really cool, where looking at that Robin armour, the idea seems to be, okay, this is our Batman, and this Batman's been in 10 movies, and you didn't get to see any of them. But they've happened, but you didn't get to see any of them. We've just been dumped right in the middle of it.
It would almost be like we're jumping into Marvel Phase 3.
You're right, absolutely.
Yes.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe is something we've seen unfold chronologically. Its continuity and its timeline stuff is something that the geeks are really into, including myself, and that's part of why that mythology works for me. This is something different. And hey, if they paint the broad strokes well enough, there's nothing to say we can't have stories that take place before. In fact, I'm pretty convinced that this Batman movie that Ben's going to make is going to take place before Batman vs Superman. I'm convinced of it, actually. Don't ask me how they're going to do that. Digitally age him? Don't know, but I'm pretty sure.
By the way, I find it very interesting that the Batman in this universe seems to be considerably older than the Joker.
That's true. That is true.
Like, to throw out stupid fan wanky thing, what if Jared Leto isn't playing the original Joker?
Yeah.
Ooh.
He's an actor. Culture.
No, he's referring to this, like, someone made the offhand comment that maybe he's Jason Todd's, and some
Well, I'm not
websites.
saying Jason Todd, but what if there was another Joker, the older classical Joker? I mean, you
it's
could
like
do a
Batman,
lot of things.
The Joker is the symbol.
I'm fine with that,
Oh
actually.
my god, it's the Joker signal. He's back.
It's like the Jokers from Batman Beyond. They were a bike gang, weren't they? I remember those guys. Let's do
That
that.
was actually really cool. That was actually really awesome.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah. Actually, I'm told that's a wicked idea if it's Jason Todd. I'm totally fine with that. I really like that, actually.
So are we certain that Robin existed in this universe and is dead?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
That's certainly
okay.
the armor. I like how dark that was, by the way. Like, you see that armor and you think, holy shit.
My favorite shot in the trailer actually is it's the shot of the people in the, I guess, New Orleans during Katrina or whatever, and like they've got the Superman S signal. And
Yeah.
I love
You know,
that shot. I was like,
I think
nailed
that's important. You know what my favorite shot in the trailer is?
What is that?
Seeing the credits and David Goyer not having first writing position. That's my favorite shot in the trailer.
But does he have a story by credit or?
No, he still has a screenwriting credit, but Chris Terrio gets the first.
Well, I guess at that point it's a good a segue as ever. They've seen the death of Superman Lives, and hopefully they agree with me. When I first saw the documentary, not only have we seen the death of Superman Lives, we feel like in some way we've seen Superman Lives. That's certainly the way I felt. Jamie, it's been a long wait for this one. What do you think?
Oh, I forgot. I got to review that, don't I? I really liked it. It's still missing an ingredient, Phil. Because I don't want to repeat all the stuff you said, so I'm just going to add my own little point, which is I think it was really missing Nick Cage. Yes, seeing the footage of him trying the suit on, or that early prototype, and him in as the Tommy Wiseau Clark Kent, like him very excitedly talking about the interpretation of how to play him. That's true, but it needed that reflection from Nicolas Cage, like him now saying, "Well, I was thinking this at the time," or just something. And that's the one clear voice that we were missing. It does blow my mind that there was a cut of this movie that didn't have John Peters. Yeah, John Schnepp said that they shot all the John Peters stuff a month before the movie came out.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They had the picture locked, and they finally got Peters. Peters said, "Hey, I'll do the interview."
I'm kind of surprised. the movie feels kind of like a hit piece on Peters at times.
Well, it is his story.
I actually
Like showing him
I
taking
was
the phone
sympathetic
call, I thought
towards
was a little bit of a dick move.
He kind of look. I mean, no, I think the movie just lets you make up your own mind. I mean, it's either you are going to come away from this saying he is as fucking crazy as I always thought he was, or it's like, you know what? He's passionate.
He's certainly crazy, but again, showing that phone call editorially felt very much like, look at this dick taking the
Yeah,
phone call.
that's
Look how
true.
weird
I'll
this
agree
is.
with that.
That was pushing into Fox News, MSNBC territory of, we're impartial, but you probably should feel this way, guys.
It did actually, I like the counterpoint with Kevin Smith, because Smith has certainly been shown to exaggerate stories to make himself look better, and I like the fact that they didn't have a problem showing someone John Peters was actually being very courteous and very nice to Kevin Smith, and he just said, "Look, I think he was a nice guy, but he talked a big game, and you know what? He just didn't deliver." And I thought that actually put everything Smith said to shame, because Smith just went on and on and on, and literally, it's like John Peters literally just proved his point by just those little words. It's just done. Like, is he crazy? Yes, but he conveyed so much more by just saying that, because Smith's a guy who just doesn't shut up, and he does talk a big game, and yet we've seen so many times in the past he chickens out or he does shit the bed. So I was
talking about it as a documentary, I think the weirdest thing, because I enjoyed it, but they talk about drafts of the script, they talk about designs. I never really got a real sense of the story structure of what the movie would have been.
No.
It's okay. Brainiac's the bad guy. Maybe he's Christopher Walken. He looks like a spider. At a certain point, Superman dies and comes back to life, and that's about all we actually find out about Superman Lives.
And how does it end? That's what I was wondering. What's the ending? Like, obviously he comes back, but like, then what?
Yeah, it was an interesting. I enjoyed the genesis of it. Personally, I've never been terribly interested in designs and set design and costume design.
By the way, guys, you forgot one bit of it. Somewhere in there, he fights ninjas.
Yes, he fights ninjas, and everyone in the documentary is like, "That was stupid." Like,
no, it was specifically I forget which guy it was. It was one of the designers, and he says he talks about
the production designer.
That's right, and he says, "Hang on, we gotta stop for a minute. Why was he fighting ninjas? I can't remember." It was good.
The footage that stood up to me the most for the test footage was ironically the Krypton stuff.
Yeah, that was weird. Like a guy with bubble wrap.
Yeah, and I like the discussion about the cape. Actually, that really stood out to me. Make the cape have its own character. That's a good point.
That it could do different things? Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, you're like, okay. Yeah, because as much as I love Superman Returns, and I actually, the Singer suit looks awesome. But the cape's kind of like...
no, I was going to say, I think Man of Steel kind of nailed it, suit and cape-wise. Looks really good on film.
Yeah, it looks good on... That looks great, too. It's just different. But it's like, I thought the cape actually was where Superman Returns really kind of shit the bed. Cause
it looks kind of flat.
Yeah, it looks like a big black piece of leather.
Well, I mean, it was my principal criticism of the documentary when I reviewed it, that it does rush through certain things, and if you're a casual watcher of film and you don't know your Superman comics, obviously you won't know who the Eradicator is. This movie ain't gonna help you. And I was also fascinated. I don't know about you guys, but they said how the plug got pulled really close to production, like they were a few weeks away from shooting. I'm having a hard time buying that because they had so much further to go. Like they were going to have the suit nailed down, that's no problem, and it was going to be cast, and that's fine. And hopefully they would have had a script locked down. But
by the way, Sandra Bullock is Lois. That would have been kind of cool.
If they'd gone for it.
If they got her.
Because Burton was clearly sold on it. Yeah, but it would have gone against Burton's will, apparently based on what he's saying.
Actually, I take it back. You know who probably would have been cast? Courtney Cox.
Sounds like a good idea. That would have
been
as Gale Weathers as Lois.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. If she would have accepted it, and of course she would
have accepted. Are you kidding me? Oh.
Only because it's like the same role. It was just like maybe I don't know.
But yeah, but like that would have put her at the next level.
It's true.
And she, Friends was shot on the Warner Brothers lot, so they would have easily had accommodated her schedule to make it work. And that would have. I'm using my wizard powers that don't exist. I would have said like that.
So, I mean, just to show you kind of how production works, and to bring it back to one of my favorite subjects. Halloween Returns, the new Halloween movie, was supposed to start shooting July 15th, so 3 days ago from as we record this. Now, that got canned, but as of like July 4th, they were still getting ready to go into production with casting and design and all that stuff within, 11 days. So that's a lot of movies kind of run on that kind of timetable.
But the point I was going to make was that they clearly hadn't figured out, or at least they don't say it in the documentary, how they were going to pull off Doomsday. This is a big deal, this character right here, and it's a little bit different than a Halloween. Have Michael Myers.
Fix it in post. We'll fix it in post.
So yeah, it'll be like Azog. Like they'll have a guy in a pathetic suit.
I remember they were shooting The Hobbit and nobody knew what Smaug looked like.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that. It's like, yeah, we'll figure it out later.
And Galactus too. Like they had no idea when they were actually shooting the movie.
I have no idea what Galactus looks like either, and I've seen that movie.
That's true. Boom, boom, boom. That's true. Well, I mean, we're certainly glad it got made. I mean, you guys didn't contribute to getting it made, so maybe I'm a little more attached than you are.
I actually loved seeing your credit, and I froze it, and I said, I know that guy!
Oh, yes, I'm Pledge Master, folks. Look at me. So, yeah, if I have a movie made about me, a comic book movie, that's what I'm going to be called. Dare you face the Pledge Master.
The Pledge Master.
That's right, yeah. Well, that's fine.
Wait, who plays me?
Let's see, who's an interrupting jackass in real life that we can
Who always has the wrong
answer? Donald Trump. Oh, God. Are we seriously going to ruin a perfectly lovely podcast?
Phil, I don't like that movie a lot, and I want to plug my new book.
You know what? I don't like Bruce Wayne because Bruce Wayne let Metropolis happen in Man of Steel. I don't like losers like
And he was captured by Bane in The Dark Knight Rises. Jesus Christ.
But Bane did give him free cable.
That's true. It was really good.
Not only was he captured, not only is he a loser, he was also a moocher.
I have all the free channels you can watch if you want to watch Gotham News. I also have HBO.
What would you like to watch? Home Shopping Network? Yes. The thing I was going to say, because remember I teased this in my review, but I couldn't show it to you because there weren't any pictures that existed, but it was the biggest fucking thrill, and it was such a perfect ending to the documentary. I don't think should have actually, having the film, show the film, you could have had a better ending, and was that, we thought we'd seen every shot of Cage in the suit, and we were wrong, because at the end of the movie, they drop the fucking bomb and show all the shots. These are actual proper professional shots which probably would have been on magazine covers of Cage in at least the initial Superman suit. And it's as traditional as you can possibly imagine. For years and years, all we had as a point of reference was concept art and this funny picture of an action figure. And we were like, that's not Superman. And then we see these pictures of Cage in the suit, whether it was long hair or short hair. It was the suit. And they're there, and Jamie, obviously I know what he feels, because the moment he saw the documentary, his Twitter was filled with these pictures, and he showed them to the world. So I thought that was that was just amazing to me. My jaw hit the floor when I saw those, because I couldn't believe that it actually... There's a lot of, debate about how much of the costume they got finished. They clearly hadn't finished the regen suits. The return suit, like the black outfit, but the original costume that before he dies, they'd got that down, and it was a Superman suit. It was Nicolas Cage in a Superman suit, and there it is.
I still wish we could have seen. I still wish we could have, like, they'd actually shot footage of him, because of him as Clark Kent, because that's just the other missing piece. We're just like, they hadn't just figured it out yet. We're just like, God, if only.
But it was there. That was it, essentially. I mean, the clothes he would have been wearing, it's like... I can't imagine him... maybe they would have, but I can't imagine him in the classic Clark three-piece suits. With the blue, the blue jacket and the red and white tie. Where I'm going there.
Lois, maybe it's time to push off, shall we?
All I can say is, if it hadn't been for Superman, I wouldn't be here.
Wink.
That's right, the wink. He had to do the wink. Would have had to do it.
But what's even funnier is, like, he winks at the characters, not at the camera, and there's like, what's he winking at?
And they had to change voice as well. This is a job for Superman.
it's honest to God truth. I adore Superman Returns, and I really liked Man of Steel, but I do wish that, like, I would love to see Superman Lives in that alternate reality where it got made.
That's
like,
the million-dollar question I was going to ask, Jamie. Would you trade him?
No, because I don't know what I would be trading.
Well, that's the fact. That was the only other thing I wanted to mention about it, which I didn't mention during my view, is that I'm so glad that they didn't fall into that trap. It could have so easily fallen into the trap of, we got Superman Returns instead of this,
Oh yeah, I was actually kind of
They kind of did.
I don't think so. I thought that
Oh,
it was.
they kind of did, buddy. At the beginning, like, they're talking to Kevin Smith, all those people, they're just like, well, they did make Superman Returns, and like...
No! You completely misheard them. You misheard them.
The only point that I heard anything that I guess you can do that way is they kept telling the story of Bryan Singer showing the Nicolas Cage photo to everyone and like as his justification for this is why our suit looks this way, it looks so good. And at the end someone says, you know what? I think Nicolas Cage looks more interesting. So it was kind of flipping that.
Okay.
But that's the only thing they ever say that could be taken as negative towards Returns.
Our buddy Robert Meyer Burnett is in there. I love his impression of Singer. You guys were going to make this. We're not making this. I can imagine that.
Well, he told us that story years ago, like off air. It's
Yeah.
so funny. It's like, really? He's like, yeah, dude. He had a whole fucking book full of that shit. Get out. He goes, yes.
Because at the time, I didn't think the photo was real. I thought it was fake as hell. It just didn't look... Because it looked just so odd to me. The head looked like it had been put on an action figure's body. I just didn't buy it at all. But it was Robert who confirmed to me, before we saw any other pictures, that, yeah, it's real. It is. But it's totally out of context, because it's so weird. It's like, it's a shot taken from the footage, but the costume's got such different colouring in the footage. For some reason, that photo made it a really dark blue. And
Wasn't he also mid-blink?
Yes, he was mid-blink.
He did believe. And also, I like Tim Burton's comment where they actually talk about where they traced the moment. I love that they addressed that, actually. I love that they addressed that. And Tim Burton saying, look, I mean, that was for private use. He said the internet, all that internet stuff hadn't really, there were like 3 movie news sites at that point. So it wasn't that predominant. Like, you could still do stuff like that. They were meant as private notes. They were never meant to get out. And he said now you have to, shoot that, 10 miles underneath the Earth's surface and leave everything there and make sure it never gets out. Like, don't even do it digital. Like, you just can't do that anymore.
The one part that I was so glad at the end of the movie they did address, obviously, why didn't it happen. The long and short of it is that obviously Warner Brothers was on a very bad streak at the time. The one bit that's never made sense to me, maybe Matt with his insider knowledge can help me out on this, is that one of the reasons that they didn't take a chance on the movie is it was going to cost a fortune, and they had a lot of bombs, and they decided not to take a chance. But they still spent $175 million and whatever on marketing to Wild Wild West. So that never made sense to me.
Well, I can tell you Will Smith.
No, he asked me, Jamie. You step back.
Yeah.
No, it's simple. They were coming off Batman and Robin, which was kind of a massive bomb. They weren't sure about the property. They weren't really sure about Burton's vision of the property. It was really expensive. So you're weighing that versus Will Smith, who's coming off of Independence Day and Men in Black. I mean, which one seems like the safer bet to spend your money?
And Burton was coming off Batman Returns and Mars Attacks. That is true.
Exactly. Burton with Batman Returns, Mars Attacks. Then you have the last superhero movie they made was frickin' Batman and Robin. You have like the plop of Steel versus Independence Day and Men in Black.
Fair enough then. That answers that question. Well, as we wrap up, folks, I've got one final question to pose to the entire group which came out of Comic-Con. I don't know how hard it is to sell this Fantastic Four movie. And I'm just talking about the fact that this cast all look like they have guns pointed at them, except for Jamie Bell, who at Comic-Con looked like he was the one pointing the guns. He looked like a complete psychopath to me. I didn't see them, apart from, ironically, Kate Mara. She was the one who actually managed to crack a smile. But they look so... I don't know it. I just don't get it. And I'm telling you guys, I'm not going to buy this movie. I just don't get it. I don't see how I can. If a Fantastic Four movie's going to work, you have to buy that these characters love each other and that they're a family. And I'm looking at these actors, and I could be thinking nothing further away from that. So by the time we do the next show, I guess it will be out. Or maybe not, I don't know. But let's say it's your last chance to call it. Is Fantastic Four going to be good or not?
No.
Nope.
Nope.
We'll see you next week, folks.